other, completely different. It's like going to Florida to Texas. Like, that's a massive difference between states, and there's so many beautiful spots. If you like your beaches, then you'll definitely like Australia.
Well, speaking of that, we are live. So hello, wrestling world. Hello, wrestling room. Hello, wrestling nation, the Florida wrestling room, World Wrestling Live, everybody. We are live here with Australian 20-time national champion, Carissa Holland. She's in the house, 2-time Commonwealth athlete, 6-time Oceania champ. She's from Prairie Wood, Australia, which I discovered is only a hop, skip, and a jump from Sydney. And she's here with us today, and I can't believe it. Thank you so much. I'm definitely honored to have you on. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The pleasure is all mine.
Yeah. And so tell us, this is something that's been affecting the world, not just us here in the United States. So what have you guys been going through to kind of stay up and stay in tune and ready and going? How has this affected your training for whatever your plans are in the future here?
Yeah, look, well, COVID definitely shook the world, and that's not an exaggeration. But look, at the end of the day, when you work towards something, you can't really stop during this period of time. If anything, it's definitely given me more time to train. Like, I've got my whole get up here in my backyard. I've kind of taken over the backyard with all my fitness equipment now. But look, it's been difficult, to be quite fair, purely for the fact that you're so used to wrestling with people. The only people I have to wrestle is my friend Benji over here. But besides that, like, it's been difficult, but in a sense, it's been an opportunity for me to be able to do international wrestling sessions. So I use Zoom every Saturday, and I do these international wrestling sessions. They're absolutely free, and they're just to encourage people to stay active and to keep doing what they love during this crazy time in our lives. And I guess that's been helping other people, and including myself, because I have to jump in and do all the exercises as well, keep active with my wrestling, keep accountable to my wrestling, and just keeping fit, because everyone knows at this point in time with COVID and everything, staying home, it's so easy for your exercise to walk into the fridge. So yeah, besides that, I think the Zoom sessions have really kept me accountable, but just making myself accountable as well and training every day is something that's really helped me over this period of time.
Man, that's awesome. So not just here in the States, but all over the world, it's affecting everybody, and it's good to hear that. It seems you guys are doing the same thing. A lot of virtual training, a lot of kind of that kind of stuff that you're offering the kids. And it seems like you're doing the same thing the rest of us are doing. So talk a little bit about, I know that you've been wrestling for about 16 years, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
All right. I was trying to make sure I was doing this all right. And I know that you were a young little girl. You were trying to find your way, and you found wrestling. And talk about why wrestling, why you choose wrestling, and what kind of was going on in your life at that time to make you get into this sport.
Yeah, well, as cliche as it sounds, I think wrestling found me. When I started, I was about 8 years old. But the only problem was, at the time, I was a dancer and I did not want to do anything else. But to be at the time, my brother wanted to become a WWE wrestler. Specifically, I know a lot of people start wrestling this way. So a lot of people understand this character, The Undertaker. Specifically, he wanted to be The Undertaker. So in Australia, wrestling's not that big of a sport. Like, you don't grow up saying, okay, I want to do wrestling. It's not even shown on television. It's not done in any high school. So you don't even know how to get into it to start off with. But we have an organization called PCYCs down here, and it's just like a community club. And all of them did wrestling at the time. And so we're like, oh, okay, there was one down the road. So we're like, oh, we'll go there. my brother did his first session. He absolutely fell in love with it. To be fair, and to be honest, he rocked up at that session and he dressed up like the Undertaker, the full leather jacket, the bandana, the eyeliner underneath the eyes, everything. He had the full get up, but he was like, "Oh no, you should do it. You should do it." And I'm like, "Nah, it's not really my thing. Like, I'm a dancer. I don't want to do anything else. Like, I'm good." And then I realized my cousins and stuff started joining, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give this a go. But there was one incident that happened at school, and during that period of time, I was really severely bullied through school to the point where I was thrown downstairs, I was spat on, I was thrown in garbage cans, and I've always been very small. Like, nothing's changed right now, but I was always very quiet, and I never really fought for myself. So there was one incident where I got pushed down the stairs, and that kind of really affected me, and I knew things had to change. And so my brother kept convincing me. He's like, just do wrestling. And I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a go. You know, like, I've got nothing to lose, and it's a good self-defense. If anything, I'm going to learn self-defense from this. And then so I rocked up to my first wrestling session, and this is how fit I was, my athletic ability at the time. I ran 3 laps of the mat, and I threw up everywhere. And I honestly thought I'd never.
How old were you?
I was about 8 years old.
Oh wow!
But I probably, besides dancing, had never done that much physical activity in my life. But yeah, I ran 3 laps of the mat, threw up, and I'm like, yep, no, I'm done. No, wrestling's not for me. And then I realized, I was like, a couple of weeks later, my brother's like, look, just give it one more go. If you don't like it, you will never have to return. But at the end of the day, this is for you and to help you. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it another go. So I rocked up to my next training session, and I did a lot better. I made it through the warm-up at least. And then we went to the wrestling part, and I started to really enjoy it. And in the wrestling, after the games and stuff, I beat a boy in the class, and then that kind of glued it for me. And I'm like, yes, okay, done. I'm a champion now.
Yeah.
that kind of started the journey for me. And then a year later, I ended up winning my first national title, and then from there, winning consecutively all the national titles after that. And then I was lucky enough, like, I was on the world team. By the time I was 13, I was the youngest ever world team member. At the time, because they don't usually send people overseas unless you're 16 and older. So I was the youngest ever team member at the time. And yeah, I've been lucky enough since then to go to Youth Olympics, go to Commonwealth Games, and be able to travel the world and meet so many amazing people. And
I saw I think a quote, and I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was something that's to the extent that wrestling made me who I am.
Yeah. I honestly feel like, and it's funny because wrestling is my life. And as I said, this sounds very, very cliche, but it is. Like, it shapes my life in every way, shape, and form. And I'm so fortunate that I found wrestling. And I was thinking the other day, I'm like, I'm scared if I didn't find wrestling, because I remember being 8 years old and not wanting to live anymore because I was going through that much torment at school. And I could only think, like, if I didn't join wrestling, then I wouldn't have had that opportunity to be able to change my life, because something that wrestling's given me everything. It's given me journey. It's turned me into a coach. But the biggest thing is, it gave me a family, and it gave me a community to be a part of. And that's something that growing up, I didn't really understand. I didn't really understand it being part of a team or being part of something, because I never really had any friends. But wrestling really gave me that network and that community and that sheltered place where I'm like, you know what, I'm worth something and I can do anything that I put my mind to. And that's why, in a sense, wrestling is everything to me. And I no matter what, doesn't matter how old I am, I'll still be doing it in some capacity, because it's everything. It's literally my life.
That's awesome. So I know that you obviously wrestle, and I'm sure you work in some capacity, as far as whether it's a wrestling coach or whether it's with kids, or I don't know, whether it's whatever you're doing. How are you able to kind of juggle both things? How are you able to keep yourself in top shape and prepared for your goals that you still are looking to achieve, but also make a living, I guess.
Yeah, look, that juggle is extremely hard. I'm not gonna lie. Throughout my career, I had to work full time. But then sometimes you have to make those sacrifices, and sometimes I'm overseas for a year, and that puts me in incredible debt. But right now, I'm working full time, and I've got a mortgage to pay. I've got things to pay, bills to pay. So unfortunately, I'm not in the capacity where I can stop working and train full time. But luckily, the environment that I work in a gym, so it makes it very, very easy. I manage a gym called UFC Gym. I know that America has a few franchises as well. And the greatest thing about that is the fact that they have wrestling in there, and that was a big reason why I wanted to be part of that movement. I was one of the first trainers at UFC Gym here in Australia. And so as a manager, it's great because I can plan my time efficiently and be able to train throughout the periods of the day. And I get to coach. I've been doing a little bit more coaching, more so than training over this past year, or almost 2 years now, purely because of injuries. I've had 3 surgeries, so in the last 2 years. So it's been a bit of a tricky road, but it doesn't stop me nevertheless. But yeah, I think working full time has its if you're not a goal orientated person, or if you're not a time efficient person, it can be something that's very, very difficult. But it's just something that you have to ask yourself how bad you want it, because after a long day of work and still got to train, you still got to train. Do you get what I mean? So luckily, I did my biggest workout first thing in the morning. I usually do 2 to 3 sessions a day, so I'll always do it around my lunchtime. Do like a run or something just to kind of shake off the legs, and then at night usually do my wrestling or coach wrestling. So it gives me that opportunity to be a little bit more time efficient. And again, I don't have to go very far. Everything's in the proximity that I work with.
Oh, nice. So that makes it easy for you.
So very easy.
What is something that when you're not wrestling or you're not training or you're not working, what is something that kind of gets your mind off everything, that kind of gives you that hour or whatever to kind of give yourself a break and check out?
Sleep?
Sleep.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
sleep is a big one. I'm a fast sleeper. If anyone knows me, I can sleep. Especially like if I do my trips to America, Canada, I'm asleep the whole time. I wake up for food and then go back to sleep. But besides that, I think I play the guitar. So for me, having that other outlet there, that's something that I was doing before wrestling. So it kind of brings me back to my roots a little bit, and lets me kind of get into a zone where I can just relax, switch my mind off, because it's very, very easy to get stuck and caught up with everything that's going on in life. So even if it's like 10 minutes, 30 minutes, I usually pop out my guitar, start playing, and I usually find I try to sing, but I don't want to piss off the neighbors. But I always like that guitar because it always kind of calms me down a little bit, especially after a long day or a stressful day. If there's something that's happened during my day, always kind of makes me feel that little bit better and gives me a little bit more serenity.
You're like the movies. You're like the team member where you're all sitting on your bags in the corner, and there you are just jamming for everybody.
Yep. But unfortunately, like I'll play, but then I used to be very confident with my singing, but now it's just like, I just don't want to ruin anyone's eardrums with my singing, so I just sing it quietly.
That's it, huh? So what is what's your most memorable moment as a wrestler?
My hands down most memorable moment. I've got a few, but the one that's on the top. So the Commonwealth Games for us is a big deal. So it's like Olympics for us. So for those, I know in America you're not too. Some people aren't too familiar with the Commonwealth Games. But it's pretty much all the Commonwealth nations coming in. And it's a massive competition where you have so many sports, and they all fight. And you get, as I said, it's very much like the Olympic Games, but in a miniaturized version. But for us, it's a big deal because it's a huge funding opportunity for all of us. But in the lead up, my wrestling career has never really been easy because in Australia I've been a pathway maker for the girls. So I've had a lot of setbacks in terms of not being able to go places, not being able to get the funding for places, world events like Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games. They never really send females. So I really had to fight hard. And going back to your question with my most favorite moment, there's a little bit of context behind it, so I'll give you a little bit more around why it's my favorite moment. So at the 2012, I was qualifying for the Olympic Games, and at the time I was fresh out of high school, moved to Canada for a year, training my ass off, like training 3 to 4 times a day, going for like, I don't even remember how long my runs were, but I remember like when I was living in Canada, they checked my heart rate and my resting heart rate was sitting just too low because I was just literally, I had nothing else to do but train. But Canada's always been my place that I guess when I went to train or anything like that, I've been going there since I was 14 by myself. So like I always used to go there. It used to be my second home growing up. And so I was living in Canada and I was training up for the Olympic qualifications. Now for the Australian and Oceania, our qualification process goes state, national, and then you've got Oceania, which is all the Oceania region. And then because Oceania and Africana are the 2 weakest nations, then they go into one competition. So if you have to place top 2 at that competition, if you place top 2, you qualify your spot for your country. But if you don't, there's also the 2 last chance qualifiers. So in total, 6 qualifications to make it to the Olympic Games. So I came back home. I got an exemption from states because I was living in Canada. So it's only a little bit small and there wasn't really that many people to fight against. Usually they send everyone from states there to nationals anyway. Came home for nationals. And at nationals, there was a girl that was in my weight and she didn't qualify. There was only 2 of us in that weight at the time. And she didn't make it to weigh-in. She went into the sauna. Her kidney, she was just doing it via sauna and her kidney started to collapse. And all that really bad stuff that happens when you don't know how to weight cut properly. And so she got sent to hospital. I still rocked up on the day. I still weighed in everything, but I didn't hear anything. So I'm like, okay, I obviously just like qualified my spot. Cool, like awesome. I'm going to Oceania, Africa. I'm going to Oceania. And then I didn't get anything, and I'm like, what's happening? So I ended up paying my way to Oceania because I didn't end up hearing anything. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to let them stop me from going because this is something that I'm working really, really hard for, and I've dedicated so much time towards. I'm still going to go no matter what. So I ended up going to Oceania, ended up winning there. And then it got time to Oceania Africana. And this is where, like, I'm not going to pay for myself because the funding pool is there to send people. And you have to qualify. But I said I wasn't getting anything. And it started to really frustrate me. I wasn't getting any qualification saying you've been qualified, nothing like that. So I'm like, what is happening? Anyways, what I found out because one of the girls, the girl that was sick, they were saying, oh, okay, now because you didn't wrestle anyone, we're not going to send any females to go. And we're like, what? Well, like, we've worked so freaking hard for this. Like, at that time, I've been wrestling for a few years, and like I've been traveling the world and training my butt off, literally training my butt off all around the world to get there. And so what we were going to do, what we did do is take me, my dad, God bless his soul, he's one of the best men I know, he fought day in, day out and took wrestling to the Australian Olympic Committee to a tribunal. And I won purely on the fact that they weren't sending any females, and that's a very sexist kind of it wasn't fair in the nicest way. So I ended up going, and because there was miscommunication, and before the fact that I was standing up to Wrestling Australia, they don't like that. They don't like being put in the spotlight and saying, okay, you guys are actually wrong for doing this. And I got a lot of backlash from that. But going to the Oceania Africana, I did really, really well. I unfortunately didn't make it to the Olympic Games. I placed 3rd. For me, that was a big milestone because even within that competition, there was little things that happened, and I still proved everyone wrong when I was there. So I was purely happy with that. I was really, really happy with that. Like the thing that happened was I literally had like countries like Nigeria and Cameroon in my division, Tunisia, like really good countries, and I had Nigeria up in the weigh-in line, and the whole team was laughing at me because I was a small, skinny, 48-kilo Australian girl that's come out of nowhere. They've never seen that before, so the whole team was laughing at me during weigh-in. But during that competition, I ended up beating Nigeria. I think that was my third match. I ended up beating Nigeria, and I pinned her in 30 seconds. And I had the coach come up to me, and he goes, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for the team laughing at you. You're a great wrestler. Keep it up." And for me, that was like, yes, okay, like.
That's awesome.
That kind of made it for me because all my troubles and stuff, like even if I didn't get the acceptance from my federation, like I had a little bit of acceptance from another federation. Not that I was going to move there or anything, but that self-gratitude was there. But then I came back to Australia, and I, as they said, I got a lot of backlash from everyone. Like I was probably the most hated person in the room, purely for the fact it was the way that they communicated it out for everyone. And the people that were on the board at the time, they necessarily did not like me with any inch of their bone right now, because again, I kind of made them look bad in front of the Australian Olympic Committee. But in a good way, I was able to make that pathway for females. But yeah, so moving a little bit forward, I know that I ramble on a lot, so I ended up taking some time off. I came back to nationals, and I had a special match, which is an exhibition with a girl from Germany that was down at the time. And because I had so much negativity in the air, that really, really affected me at that competition. I lost that match, and that was probably one of the first matches I lost nationwide. And that really hurt. Like, really, it wasn't towards the medal or anything, but it really, really hurt me. Purely for the fact that people were on their feet when I lost, and that broke me, because I believe I do what I love, and that's something that I live by, whether that comes to work, whether that comes to wrestling or anything else. And so, I went to that competition, and after I left, I stopped wrestling for a bit, because I'm like, look, I don't enjoy this anymore. I don't enjoy the feeling being that most hated person in the room. And so I was like, no, I'll give myself a little bit of a break. I never stopped training. If anything, I was training harder during this period of time. Took my feet away from the wrestling mat and just started doing more strength conditioning, CrossFit style training. But so it was 2013, and I'm like halfway, about 6 months in, and I'm like, you know what? Like, Commonwealth Games is coming up. I think I'll have a good shot. Hopefully, I don't get any setbacks. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start training up, get back on the mat. So I took a good 6 month break, got back on the mat. And then I started training for the Commonwealth Games. And in my head, it was funny because like I didn't know how much it meant to me at the time until my moment happened. So same thing happened. I got a lot of negativity from coming back because, again, the board still hated me. The board didn't want anything to do with me. In 2013, they were happy I left, literally, purely for the fact they weren't going to have anyone that was going to fight them for anything. But I fight what I believe in. And so I was going through the qualification process in 2014, and I had six matches on the day, and then I ended up doing another 2 exhibition matches, winning them all without getting a point scored on me. And then I was like, okay, the qualification process is a lot easier. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It was only that and another one. Hey there. And then so I won nationals really easily, and then it's only 2 more competitions after that. So you have Australia Cup, and then you have a qualifier. And so I went to Australia Cup, won that pretty easy, and then it was the last one. And at that point in time, usually you get your nomination process around here, saying that you've been qualified to secure your spot. Then you're in that last competition. I'm like, okay, I've won my first one, I won my second one, still haven't heard anything. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to happen again. Like, I literally have to go to fight them, and then everyone's going to hate me. And like, it's even really worth it. So I started to like ask around to a couple of the other girls that were on the team. And I'm like, hey, I was being really oblivious. I'm like, oh my God, did you get your letter? And they're like, yeah. How exciting is it? I'm like, I never got one. And then luckily I was good friends with them. So like, they were like, what? Like, what do you mean you didn't get one? And at that time, I'd been wrestling for Australia for the last 10 years. So I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I had 6 months off. How can this even be? And then, I didn't qualify. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go through this whole thing again. I haven't been nominated. So I went to the last qualifier. And during this time, I was actually going to take Wrestling Australia to court. Because again, it was unfair, purely for the fact that even at the time, I said these girls were really good friends of mine. But one of them had only been wrestling for a year, had a judo background, and then the other one had only been an Australian citizen for a year. Now, I had a whole 4 pages of accomplishments at that time, literally stating every single accomplishment I did in that last 10 years. But moving the story on, I went to the competition, and I'm like, you know what? Give me anyone. Give me an exhibition against anyone. I'm going to prove myself that I deserve to be on this team more than anyone else in this room. And I did exactly that. And I wrestled one of the girls in the 72 kilo class. The only downside was the fact that I dislocated my elbow during the match. I went for a double leg. She caught overhooks, and my arm just got caught in the middle. Dislocated my elbow for the first time. And I'm like, all right, okay, all this hard work is now over. Wrestling Australia have won. Amazing. Like, to be fair, like I was in the hospital room and I was crying my guts out. I thought it was for the injury, and my dad was next to me, and he knew that it was so much more. Because when I put my heart and soul in something, it's heart and soul. But what happened was kind of moving. I'm almost there. Don't worry.
No worries. Somebody was sending me a message, so I was just responding.
Oh, okay, all good.
Keep going.
Yeah, so I was. So a couple of days later, after I dislocated my elbow, my federation sent me an email, and they said, "You have now been selected for the Commonwealth Games." Woo!
Right after you dislocated your elbow.
Yeah. I'm like, how dare they? And I'm like, if you're going to give me this opportunity, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to take it all the way. So, I had 8 weeks to prepare, 8 weeks to get my elbow. I literally did everything under the sun. I got PRP. I had physio treatments every day. Anything it took, I had like a spiritual healer do something. Like, I literally had
abracadabra, right?
Yeah. I literally did everything in my power to get there. And within 4 weeks, I was at the national training camp. Within 8 weeks, I was at the Commonwealth Games. But
nice. And how'd you do?
My favorite moment. Yeah, I'll get there in a second. But
okay, no
my
problem.
favorite moment. I didn't do too well, but my accomplishment was just making it there for my first one.
God bless you.
So my favorite moment, and this is why I kind of need that context to kind of make people understand, okay, this is why it's my favorite moment, was the opening ceremony. So the opening ceremonies are like the Olympic Games. So they'll call out your country, everyone's in uniform. And I remember being at the front, all the wrestlers and combat athletes are always at the front because we make our way there so people don't mess with us. I was right at the front, and I remember looking out before we were about to enter. And as soon as they said Team Australia, and I started to walk out into the arena and everyone was applauding, I had tears in my eyes.
That's awesome.
I had tears rolling down my eyes purely for the fact I'm like, you know what, I made it here. And it wasn't for the fact that I was given the opportunity, but I had to work freaking hard for the opportunity to be there. So in my favorite moment in wrestling, it will probably have to be that. There are a lot more, but I think with that one, it was just the journey of getting there. And that's why within that competition, it wasn't so much about winning. It was it was the journey about getting there, and how much I learned to love wrestling again through that process.
Yeah. And you said, I mean, I was trying to read stuff when you were coming on, and you, even through all of that, you said wrestling for the green and gold mean more to you than anything in the world.
Yeah. Because it's like when you get to represent your country on that large of a scale, you know that it's an opportunity that not many people get. There was a thing that was like 1% of people get to represent their country, and then 1% of those people get to represent their country at a Commonwealth or Olympic Games. So to be that 1% that's been able to get there and being able to do it twice now, for me, that means a lot.
That's awesome, man. God bless you. And what a great story, and what a great opportunity to talk to you. This has been tremendous.
Thank you.
Are you ready for my 10 questions?
Yeah, give it to me. Give it to me.
All right, I tried to do some research, so let's see if I can do it. Okay, Savannah's or La Mona Waterhill? There were like restaurants that I found in your area.
Okay. La Mono, I think. Is it La Mono? Do you have?
Sure, yeah, La Mono. That's what it said.
Okay, yeah, it's a chicken place. They have good chicken, so I'm gonna say La Mono.
All right, the Sydney Aquarium or the Taronga Zoo?
Oh, aquariums make me really sleepy. So I'll probably say Taronga Zoo.
All right. Rugby or cricket?
Oh, rugby, 100%.
I hope I got this right. Boxing Day Test match or Australian Open?
Ooh, probably Australian Open.
For those that don't know, Boxing Day Test match is like this big, huge cricket thing they do in Australia.
Yeah.
And the Australian Open, everyone
Australian
knows
Open
what that
tennis.
is.
Yeah, probably Australian Open, 100%.
I know that you're a freestyle wrestler. Do you like the idea of a tie, or do you wish it was overtime?
Can you repeat that question?
I know that you wrestle freestyle, right?
Yep.
So do you like the fact that it's a tie, or do you prefer overtime?
I do like overtime because at the end of the day, you do want to have a result, and you do want to have at least something on paper to show that, okay, well, 1 point ahead.
All right, so I tried to do some research here. Let's see how I'm doing. Grilled kangaroo or barbecue snags?
Or grilled kangaroo. It's so good.
Lamingtons or pavlova? Did I say?
Oh, well, you really did your research in Australian cuisine. For me, Lamington.
I'm like, did I totally mess that up?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Here's not my last question, but my last cuisine.
Yeah.
They said there is meat pies or there is barramundi.
Barramundi.
Yeah,
it's like a fish. Well, they're both good. Meat pie, you can't go wrong with an Aussie meat pie.
Yeah, they said like barramundi's like Australian's version of like fish and chips or whatever.
Yeah, so it's just a kind of fish that we have here. I think barramundi comes from the Aboriginal heritage, the word. So when you come to Australia, you'll find like there's a lot of words like barramundi and places like Parramatta, like there will be places that sound very Aboriginal, but if you ever get the chance, get your hands on some barramundi. It's pretty damn good.
But not as good as a meat pie.
You can't be a classic Aussie meat pie. Like,
are you headgear or no headgear?
I was headgear majority of my life, and then I got to the point where I'm like, I've got collies anyway, so like, there's no point in wearing headgear. So I'm no headgear, purely for the fact that if you get collies, it's actually a great thing. You know, it's a badge of honor. I know in Australia, not many females that all have collies. They're like, oh, why is your ears like? Do you have problems with your ears? Like, are you okay?
No, you're like,
yeah,
that means. Yeah, you're like, that means I can kick your ass.
Yeah. Working in UFC, you're like, yeah, don't get close to me, mate. So yeah, definitely no headgear for me. I'm all about that collie life.
I like it. And then last one, do you prefer the singlet or the two-piece?
Well, in Australia, we're not actually allowed to have the two-piece. They're very traditional and old school. So I'm going to say if I had the chance, I'd wear two-piece. But at the end of the day, like, singlet is still like the iconic wrestling thing. And there's no better feeling than getting your Australian singlet and then putting it on and representing your country. So I'm probably going to have to say singlet for this one.
Well, that's awesome. Well, hey, it has been so freaking cool to meet you, and it's been so
Yeah, thank
awesome.
you.
And I'm glad I found you on Instagram and sent you a message, because here we
Yeah,
are talking. And
yeah,
any of your girls worldwide that you've been wrestling with, or anybody that you feel like would be good for this platform,
yeah,
please feel free to send them on and send them my link and reach out. And
for sure.
I hope that when you're in the States, we can have a beer.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Sounds good.
All
Thank you so
right.
much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. It's been great. One of my favorites. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank
And
you.
and I have a new person to root for. So I'm gaining all these people I get to root for when I'm doing this, because
Yeah.
I get to meet all these
There's
wrestlers.
international friends. There's a roof for everyone.
Yeah, people are like, they wrestle in Australia? They do. There you go.
Yeah, they do. It's a decreasing sport here, but there's still some kicking on.
Awesome. Well, you take
Yeah.
care. Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and I'll tag you and stuff and do all that in a little bit.
Yeah. Cool, and I'll share it for you.
All right.